What do I think about Chris Paul going to the Spurs with Wemby and what I make with Popovich? Probably about 10 years too late for Chris Paul. Would have been nice. Yeah, no. Now he'll kid in and do some fitting, and he might be an okay pickup off the bench. But if he could turn back the clock 10, 12 years, this would have been a great move. Chris Paul now just basically rocking any jersey they'll take him. I knew the thing with Golden State wasn't going to work because he was too old to be with Steph Curry and their guard play and their styles. And it was a rival and it didn't look right. It just like a guy that was hoping that he'd land a ring. Been kind of like what Mitch Richmond got with Shaq and Kobe. Mitch was good and he got a ring and it was kind of like added to your resume. But it didn't catch a guy in his peak or his prime. So sometimes when you see stuff like that, it kind of is like, okay, but what does it really mean in English? What's the translation? So I wasn't really, I don't know, wasn't really feeling it. It's kind of indifferent to it. So him going to the Spurs is kind of like, yeah, had he had a coach like Popovich when he was in his peak and prime, and I know you'll come at me and say, well, he's only 3 years removed to the finals with Phoenix when they lost to Milwaukee. And I said, well, that's a long 3 years ago. He's older now. His wheels started coming off the following year against the Dallas Mavericks in the second round. He started looking real old. And I don't see anything for CP3. I just look at it as past data. Now, Victor Wemby can make him look all right. But if it was Chris Paul of 2014 with a Victor Wemby, I'd say, uh-oh. I say, uh-oh. But this here, but it's a good, he keeps a gig, but he need to retire though. I'm not stuttering. The old guard, it's looked like the old guard. And I don't see what the relevance is of another year. I don't see it. But it's good in name. Would have been interesting though had he been in his peak or his prime with a Popovich and Chris CP3 would have been interesting. An interesting question is his peak and prime, would it have made a difference compared to Tony Parker? Because career wise, the love he gets is bigger than Parker, but Parker got more on the resume. So would it have been interesting how that would have played out? But anyway, we'll never know. Please like, subscribe, work on thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands, keep your mind clear. Watch out for another shit if you like my piece.